So to go back into this, let's try. I've now got not that long to finish a 3-hour paper, but let's see if we can do it. Just remember, when your project folder, copy across the text file so that you don't, you can actually test the program. So when you create your project folder on the location of your exam drives, you'll then get through there. Now, the next step that we've got to do is we've got to go into our question paper. I'm going to read our question paper. It's a good idea to read the scenario during the 10-minute reading time. Make sure you understand the scenario fully. And it says each employee is assigned an employee code. It tells me some information about employee code. It's relevant for later, and it goes through some of the stuff there. The instructions as per IEB, you guys should be familiar with those. They're the same as all the other past finals. And then it would give you the database and how to set up. It gives you the data types of them as well as the actual example data that's in there. The first question is and then it shows you the text file. You can look at that when we get to that. Now, it says write a query to display all those whose first name starts with B. So if we're working with a database, we need to open up that, and we need to open up our SQL answers. So in our SQL answers, you'll see I have to copy and paste the code there, create, query design, we close this, and we open up an SQL view. It is a good idea that you open up your different tables so you have an understanding of what the different tables are for. So you can do this at the beginning. Where's that?
Switch windows.
Okay, cool. Let's do like this then. Now, you might want to please check your firewall settings. Okay. I'm hoping that's not affecting the recording, maybe, whatever. Now, so it says here we want all people whose surnames start with a B. So we'll just go select. It didn't specify what exactly information would be needed, so I'm just going to say star, which would be all from employee where surname is like open single inverted commas star, sorry, B star. So meaning that anything that begins with the letter B, we run it to test it, and then you'll see that it was Bob, sorry, Leonard, Babe, Bob, and Bum. Alright, so we're good. This SQL code works. We copy and paste it across. So copy, and we go into our SQL answers. We paste it across here. We're happy with that SQL code. That SQL code works. Next question states, write a query that will display all females employees. Female employees have a title of Miss or Mrs. You can assume that no female is a doctor because no woman could become a doctor, and be stupid enough to work at the blob, and be stupid enough to work at the fake company bar. That's very important.
Please note that we are all not as sexist as our teacher.
Not all of us, but some of us maybe.
We love women. We respect women.
Please note, this was a joke specifically for a pupil in that class that I knew would, at the stage, yes, it was funny. But yes. Alright, so we got this. So now on this, we're again saying from employee, and we're going to be saying where, but now the conditions are slightly different. We can say where title is equal to Mrs. and now it's or. You have to remember, you have to repeat title again. Some people don't do that. They forget to repeat title, which is annoying. So you'd repeat title is equal to Miss. So you have to specify that that's happening. If we run that, Barbara and Bridget are the only females. Sweet, we're good with that. We copy and paste that code across into our answers. Also a reminder, when writing your finals, press save regularly.
Control S.
Or Control S, yeah. Now, question 1.3 states, write a query to display the disasters which occurred on the 13th of a month. So in other words, the day must be 13. So we're now doing date manipulation. So we're going to go, firstly, I think it's a good idea to sort of get a gist of your data. And on this, I would want to know what day it was on. I'm just trying to see how I can make this a bit bigger. So, there's no data where it's the disaster that happened on the 13th, my bad. So we take a look at my disaster table. I'm just going to make it a bit bigger. I don't like this whole tile horizontally thing. I'm going to make the layout. I'm going to pause the video while this. Now that I've got this, you'll see the date of disaster over here, DOD. There is the one that happened on the 13th is stupid. thing is only the slip. So we need to take a look for that, and that's the kind of results that we're expecting. So because I know the results that we're expecting, so we want star from disaster. Now where
It's not T on tablecloth, but a baseball bat.
now where date of disaster. Now you want the day, so you literally just go day. Date of disaster is equal to 13. So the day would get the day from there is equal to 13. Well, just for interest's sake, and you'll say, okay, the slip and oh no, I accidentally, that also happened on 13. That's correct. So both of those should come up. I accidentally spilled my cup of tea. Yes. Now, yeah. So on this state, so hence the reason why no woman will work here. I don't blame them. Well, no doctor woman anyway, at least. All right. So now we got here. Select star from disaster where day DOD is equal to 13. You'll see there that that one works, so we're happy. Just for interest's sake, what sometimes it's a good idea to do is if you want to test something, you can just do this, and then it would actually display what the answer that was coming through there. So sometimes it's you can just do a temporary SQL statement just so you can see what day DOD was doing and if that segment of it was working to test it out. Okay, so next question 1.4 states write a query to insert the following disaster. You guys should all know this. This should be easy enough. Dope 5 SH happens 2016-07-01. Okay, so insert into a disaster, open brackets, title, comma, employee, FK, comma, description, comma, DOD, close brackets. I don't remember exactly what the values were, but I'm just going to say title was dope if I remember correctly. The employee FK was 4. I don't know if it was 4, but it doesn't matter.
SH happens.
SH happens, and then and then date of was 2017. Remember, enclose it in hashes. Hashes 2016 /06/08. You would obviously check the correct data. Hash and close brackets. You guys would check the correct data. If you want to test that your SQL statement is correct here, press run. If it says you're about to append one row, you can say no here, and you can copy that across because it is about to append a row. So we know it's going to. If you want, you can actually run it, and it will physically append that row, and you can check the row that's appended is correct, but your choice. Anyway, 1.5. 1.5 now writes a query to delete the damages of the tablecloth. They managed to wash it out. Okay, so we look for the damage of tablecloth. So if we look at the damages tablecloth, so now you'll see it's very important when you delete. You don't delete by the item tablecloth. You delete by ID6.
Damages children.
Quantity 10 children.
10 children affected.
No, I lost.
3 cities.
No.
Became nuclear children.
So now what we got here, from this nuclear power disaster, we're going to delete the tablecloth incident. So we're just going to delete from damages where damage ID equals 6. Press run. If it says you're about to delete one record, then it's right. Control C. You can run it and just check if it did delete the correct record, but your choice. Next one, 1.6 states write a query that details employees whose birthday is the current month. The current month should automatically update. So details whose birthdays are this current month. So we go select star from yeah.
If we accidentally delete our entire round of estimates, I still allowed to ask for it to be read.
Yes.
Great, thanks.
Delete star from employee where where DOB, so it's small case, DOB. Now, so we want the month of the date of birth is equal to the current date of birth. So literally, you'll just go month. There's actually different ways you can just go now is probably the easiest with brackets. So we check this if this runs. There's no no employee with the birthday of our day, so it should return nothing. Cool, that's correct. Obviously, I would have set we probably would set the data so that it's got an example data which would actually return something. But in this case, it wasn't. But that is the answer for that. So I'm just saying the month of the date of birth is equal to the month of the current month. Okay. Now, the next question, 1.7. I'm hoping I'm doing okay time-wise.
You're crushing it, sir.
Where was I? Write a query to give the employee code for each employee. Now, this is actually the employee code for each employee. Now this is where you had to read your scenario. Because now, if you looked at this and you're like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing, it's because you didn't read your scenario, and in your scenario it tells you that your employee code, in the scenario, each employee has an employee code. This contains the first letter of their first name followed by their surname, a dash, and then a randomly generated number. So that is what a employee code is. So what we're going to do is we're going to run the SQL statement for this. So we're going to say select. Now we want the first letter of their first name, so we go left, open brackets, and their first name is first name, go figure. It took me a while to find that, I don't know why. And comma 1, meaning you want the first letter from that, comma, and it then wants their, it then wants their surname, right? Their full surname. So just go ampersand surname, and then you want a dash, so ampersand dash. It then wants a randomly generated number, so ampersand. Now there's a function called it's either rand or it's rand. I always forget, so you try it. So I'm just going to try rand first, but now when you do a random, you have to do it to a qualifier. In other words, rand by itself doesn't actually work. It won't be random, because the reason why is it would have generated all of them instantaneously, and it would have just made all of them the same. So if I do this, you'll notice I'm actually going to do this for you, and I go from employee. You'll notice that every person gets the same number at the end of this. So you see all of them got 0.705475. So that's not randomly unique for them, is it? So what you do is you have to actually set it out to a qualifier. So in the rand, you would say to their employee ID. So you'll notice somewhere here, the employee ID is unique for each of them. So you do it to something that's unique to all of them. So employee ID is unique to each of them. So you qualify it according to that, or quantify, I think is the right word. I always forget which word is right for that. But then you'll see each one of them gets a different random number. Now, that is enough to answer the question. I didn't ask you to round it off. I didn't ask you to do anything. But if you got, I'm going to now, just for the example of this video, I'm now going to round it off. Every time you new numbers. Whee! Yeah.
Whee! I love my team.
No. Yeah, so now what we're going to do is, if you wanted to round it off, let's say if I wanted to times it, I wanted it to be a 4 number. So then I would times it by 10,000, which is 4 numbers, I think. And then I would round that to the value of 0 decimal places. And that would then give me a random number that makes more sense. So now I'll say dash 96521.
Or you can just set your maximum and minimum, which would your minimum being 1.
A minimum you could plus. Whatever you plus it by would be your minimum. Whatever you times it by would be your maximum. Because the random always generates a number between 0 and 1. So times would quantify its maximum, plus would quantify its minimum. If I don't know if the random function in SQL does have.
Java you plus times.
Yeah. So the same sort of thing, I think. Okay, so anyway, so I'm just going to copy that across. I answered this more than what it required to answer, so I'd suggest in your exam you don't. You answer it what is asking. You don't add special stuff because you think it's special. Because you might make a mistake in the special stuff and you can lose. You are special, Nick, don't worry.
Oh, thank you, sir.
No, 1.8 states there, scroll through all of it. Okay, 1.8 states, write a query to display the employee's name and surname and total number of accidents they have caused. The total number of accidents should be a field named oops. Okay, so now we're calling the total number of accidents the fields that are caused. So we go here. So we want to select. Now what did we want to display from the employee? The name and surname. So we want first name field, first name, comma, surname, name field. From, now, I'm coming back to this. Okay, firstly, we know we want to know count the number of disasters, right? So I'm going to say count star. Just bear with me that. And I'm going to say as, it asked us to call it oops. So as oops. So I've got the fields that I want. But now I've got to make sure I get the right from the right table. Now, because we're doing a count, we already know that that's going to do what? It's going to aggregate. And if we aggregate, we can't display fields that aren't aggregated unless we group by them. So we know that we're going to select which tables firstly are we working with. We're working from the employee table, and which is the other table we're working from? The disaster table, right? So we're going to say from the employee and the disaster table where the employee FK, now I might need to also say there disaster dot employee FK is equal to employee dot employee ID. Now that would select, and that actually should work. So now it'll show me. Now I haven't done the group by because I haven't got the surname, so I have to group by first name, comma, surname. So now we're grouping by two things. So I'm guessing comma will work. Do I know? No. I'm just going to try. Hey, it worked.
It works.
Okay, so Bob Blainyard had caused 1 accident. Homer Simpson had caused 3 accidents.
I can't believe Homer Simpson works in a nuclear reactor.
Well, he
That's
does.
why it's funny. It's because they hire anyone to do those things. So it's satirical.
Anyway, now, so in the SQL now, we've got that there. So that is correct. We've got it all working. We're happy. Now we're down to question 1.9. So it's getting a little trickier, and I don't know how much time I'm getting left, but we shall see. Homer Simpson had a bad day. Writes a query to insert a copy of all incidences which he caused again with the date 13/07/2016. So in one day he caused all the accidents he'd caused over again. So now this has got to do with an insert statement with a select statement. That's the purpose of me asking this question, and it just happens to be funny as well. So what you can do, firstly, I'm going to answer the second one. I'm going to get all the accidents that he caused. So to do that, I would go, did I copy and paste that SQL statement across? Yes, phew, I thought I deleted it before I copied it across. Anyway, now if I'm going to go select all incidences, so disasters that's happened. So now remember, you wouldn't be the ID, but you'd get the title, comma, employee, FK, comma, description, comma, that's not how you spell description, comma, DOD. Now from disaster. I think this is a good idea to do first, so you can make sure that SQL statement is correct, and that SQL statement is correct. So now I take a look at it and I say insert into disaster, open brackets, title, comma, employee, FK, comma, description. I'll probably copy and paste this, might be quicker, but DOD, open brackets, values. Now then all you do is open brackets and you run the select statement in there.
No, but we need to change the date.
Oh, sorry, I lied. The values is not correct. Oh no, the date, you just put brackets there. I can't remember if you put values in or not, but you just try it. Let's just try this. So instead of DOD, I need the date, and what was the date?
I don't know, just put in a random date.
Hashtag 2017 09 10.
But it was the 13th of the 7th.
No. Anyway, so we just put the date there. We put in our own date. Now, I don't know if this is going to work, so I always forget if you have to say values or not, so I just try it. Syntax error, okay, so it doesn't like it. So let's try put values in. Run. Syntax select title. Okay, so it's not liking that. Insert into disaster values select from. I've forgotten to select only where the employee FK is Simpsons, which is 5. So I forgot that. And all I've done is I've just literally removed the brackets here. So there's no brackets around the select statement. I'm going to try that. And now, hey, look at that. It was easier than what we actually were trying to make it. So it's going to append 3 rows. We go, yes, it will append those 3 rows. So now I'm just saying insert into da-da-da, and then you say select. You don't put anything there. The brackets actually caused me an issue. I shouldn't have had brackets. Go figure. Because I think it was then trying to collate all the multiple points into one, which you couldn't have done. So you had to actually keep it raw and it's multiple separate points. So I'm going to go back to my current answers, and I'm going to go Control V, and that's there. Now the next thing we're going to go to is Prelim. Write a query to it will display the title of the disaster followed by the total cost of the disaster. So you'll notice there the title of the disaster is inside the disaster, but the cost has got to do with the damages. Now another thing that's quite big there is you have quantity and cost. So I've got 2 disasters at this much and blah blah. So here, like 10 children died. So times 10.
They died. Is that escalated?
I don't know.
Children being mutated to children dying.
Sure, it might be mutated. There's no actual description given there on exactly what happened to the children. But anyway, so what we're going to do now is we're going to select. We're going to display the title of it, and then we're going to say sum, open brackets. We're going to say cost multiplied by quantity, close brackets, from disaster, comma, damages, where damages dot damage ID is equal to disaster dot disaster ID group by title. Do you guys get that? Shall we check if it runs? Sweet. It didn't tell me what to name the total cost. It asked me to name it as total cost. If you want a space in it, you just put it in square brackets, total cost, square brackets closed, you run it, and then it'll give total cost on the left hand side there. Okay, so copy paste, copy paste.
You have 21 minutes to do the Java.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah.
Speak
So now, yeah, so SQL is done. Sweet. I'll put my name here. Memo by
Craig Bradley.
Sweet. And then, well, I hope memo, all of it runs. So Control S, close this. SQL done. Next one is now the Java. So we go into here, and we get to question 2. Okay, employee ID. Sweet. Let's do it. This is called the class is called employee. So right click new package. Let's call this Batman. Don't know why. New Java class. And this Java class is going to be called employee. And in the employee, let me zoom in on it. It's got employee ID, first name, surname, annual salary. So private int employee Bethel ID semicolon private string. What was it? First name. Okay, and then private string surname private int annual salary. Okay, now it says default constructor where we will initialize all of those fields to be its default values. This is important because you will lose marks if you don't do this. Equals blank surname equals blank annual salary equals blank. Next, 0. Now the next one is your fully parameterized constructor. You just tick all of them. Done. Shortcut key for that is Alt Insert. Set annual salary and get annual salary and first name. So basically setters and getters for first name and annual salary. So getters and setters for first name and annual salary. If you create for all of them, so be it, no issue. There's no marks deducted for you creating too many setters and getters. Okay, now I read through this. It says override the toString. I've done all the stuff above. It says override the toString to put it in that format. So let's go Alt Insert toString generate. Sweet. Now we want to change the format of all of this. So I just personally just delete what's there and I start from the beginning. So I want employee ID. Then I want to append to it a dash. It looks like there's a space there as well. Yeah, if you look at the example, there's a space. So it's space dash space, and then the first name space surname. So plus first name plus a space plus surname plus a dash R. Now there's a space there as well, so just be careful of that. Look at the spaces. Thank you. Okay, space. So I need a spaces where I didn't put a space in front of it, so I need to put a space in front of it. Otherwise, you can be deducted a mark there.
So
Plus annual salary.
You've got a double plus sign there.
You get a double append.
What's it's a special append. Thank you. Well spotted. Right. The next one is going to be get ABV. Write code called get ABV, which will return the employee's first name with the first letter of the first name. Ensure that it's all a uppercase, blah blah blah, and surname. So B dot space Bob. Okay, so Billy Bob will come B dot space Bob. Yeah, that's easy enough. What you can do is we now. Oh, sorry, this is dot ABV, right? Don't ask me what I was doing there. So, hey, public string get ABV, open brackets, close brackets, open curly brackets. So we're going to return first name dot substring begin index, end index 0, 1. It could be 1, 0, so we'll test this later to make sure I got the right way around. And we want that to be 2 uppercase, so we go dot 2 uppercase, and that converts it to uppercase. And then we've got that there. We then have a dot and a space, so dot space close brackets plus, and then we'll go last name or surname, I think it is surname, and that's it, right? Damn it. Right. So we're happy with that.
Yeah.
I'm just getting the first character, guys. It might be 1, 1. I don't know, but I think it's 0, 1.
What is a substring?
So you can test it later if you want. Substring just gets a substring of it. So from position 0 to 1. If I set from position 1, it'll get every other character till the end. So if you leave the second one blank, if there's no other, so substring is a method of a string which will get a subsection of the string. All right, now. Creates a method called get formatted salary to return. Now this is actually a challenging question because every thousands it has to return separated by a comma. So this is quite interesting. So if I now go public, this is string get formatted annual salary. How do you think how would you do this?
Count the number of zeros and every 3 add a comma.
Oh, and you just loop through the
Yeah,
zeros.
till you get to the end.
Sorry?
Loop through the
Loop through and every three zeros.
Okay, like it's every third zero you add a comma.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to create a string temp
But it's not
that is equal
it's every
to.
2 digits, not every 3
Yeah.
zeros.
So now what we're going to do is I'm going to say string t is equal to the annual salary semicolon, right? Plus inverted commas. So I'm converting it to a string so I can append it with a string. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go, okay, so we're going to make, this has not been initialized, that's why it's a blank. So I always initialize it. If I'm not 100% confident about the method, I always initialize a blank and return that blank, so at least I get those marks. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to loop through, so I'm going to for tab or I is 0 while I is less than t dot length, right? Thank you. Dot length. Now I'm going to add a comma, so I'm going to go s is equal to, sorry, is plus equal to t dot character at I semicolon. Then I can go, sorry, then I can go if open brackets I mod. Now remember, this is going from right to left. Do I want to go from right to left to right? No, I want to go from, I want to go from the smallest value to the biggest value. So, because it's from the right to the left, that's every 3. It's not every 3 from the left to the right. It's every third symbol from the right to the left. So I want to start at length t.length minus 1 while it is greater than or equal to 0. So I'm doing it the other way around. So the first time I could loop around, I am going to go from the 9th character. So for example, let me just show you here. If I've got 10, let's say I've got this value. I'm going to start from the right, and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, comma. 1, 2, 3, comma. Now, bear with me with this. I'm going to create another counter called j, and I'm also going to be incrementing j plus plus. And the reason why is I am now going to go if open brackets j mod 3 is the percentage 3. Do you guys understand mod?
Yes, and we know it's a percentage.
Per percentage is a mod is equal to 0. That means it is divisible by 3, so it is the third character. Then I'm going to go s plus equals a comma. And then what that'll do is it'll add a comma every third character. So 1, 2, 3, comma. But now remember 0, 1, 2. So j should actually be start at 1. So my every third character it loops around here. There's other ways to do it, but now this will mean every third time this loops, it will add a comma.
But wouldn't 0 be the first position? So it would still count 3, 0, 1, 2.
I have picked up an issue here, but yeah. What do you mean?
So if you left j at 0, it still counts 0, 1, 2, and 0 being the first position. Because the length. Oh, because the length is minus 1.
Now, but one thing I have forgotten is I should also do a second check here, and the second check I should do is that we're not at 0 at the moment. Because if it's the last character, I'm not going to add a comma to the left of it. So in other words, if it was 1,000, if it was, let's say, 100, what I'm doing would end up with being comma 100. And technically it's the fourth, is it the third position or is it the fourth position that should have a comma? No, it is. So it also can't be the last value, can it? So also, I'd have to add it here, I'd have to add an and I is not equal to 0, so it's not the last value. Does that make sense? Am I doing this the right way? I don't know. We can test it, so we're going to come back to this later on. I'm going to come back to this and test this, because this kind of problem solving, you need to test what's going on. And we'll need to sort of run through it, see if I'm adding the commas in the right area, problem solve. But so, right now, I've got enough to get me at least some of the marks. I'm happy with it. I'm going to move on, and then later when I create an interface, I can test it, and if it doesn't work, I can then go back and check the code. But I've at least put something down. I know I'm going to get at least 3 marks, because I might have made a stupid mistake somewhere, but at least I got 3 marks. Does that make sense? So it's worth doing. Okay, so now disaster class. Disaster class has an integer, an employee, a string, and a cost. So let's go do this. So right click, new Java class. How much time do I have left? 10 minutes. Disaster. Okay, so we create the disaster class. We go into our disaster class, and we needed a integer disaster ID. And oops, what did I forget?
Just one interaction.
That too, yeah. ID. I would also need a private employee.
Always need access before
Cause
specified in the class number.
String the description. Yeah. Well, what if you don't specify an access modifier? What access modifier is it defaultly?
Public.
Nope. Protected.
Protected.
So yeah, protected, which means it's accessible by anything that extends it or is in the same package as it, but not from anything external from there. But you guys don't need to know protected, but just for interest's sake, it's defaultly protected. No?
I didn't know. I was about to ask, so I asked the question.
Yeah. Set cause. Okay, so set cause and get cost. So cause and cost is what we need. So setters and getters for cost and cause. Done. Next question states override the toString. Blah blah blah, disaster ID, description, cost. Okay, so I'm not going to be exact with this because quite frankly I don't have time. So I'm just going to go toString generate.
That's great, that's fine.
Yeah, I'm fine with that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, now the next one it says pay back the money which will be deducted from the cost
Ooh.
Yeah, this is also at the time when that was more of a topical situation. Yeah. Of the damages from the employee that caused the accident's annual salary, so which will deduct the total cost from the employee's annual salary. Now this is quite interesting because we actually want to actually work with the employee here. So what you're going to do is you're going to say public void pay back the money, and you're actually changing the value. So what we're going to do here is we're going to say employee, which was the cause, dot set annual salary is equal to cause dot get annual salary minus damage. What does it cost? Minus the cost. So you're actually physically changing the actual cost of it. Now this will change the value of that employee's annual salary will now become less because of it. So you're getting his current annual salary and then changing it by minus the cost.
The getter inside of a setter.
Yep. I mean, technically, I could have done this in 2 steps. I could have first got the salary as a separate value, and then, but I just passed it directly through the parameter because of time issues.
Yep.
Now, Bob Manager. Now, this is the more tricky one. So now we're gonna. Well, I think the tricky one was at also 1,000th. I think that was also quite a challenging one. But this one's now the next one. We're gonna create a Java class. Damn it, that's not a Java class. That's not a Java class, and we're gonna call, what is it called? Blob Manager. Blob Manager. And now in this Blob Manager class, it asked me to write code to create the following: an array of 500 employees and an array of 1,000 disasters. So we zoom in just so you can see it properly. We go private employee array employees is equal to new employee array 500. Is that right? 500?
I think so.
Okay, it doesn't matter. Private int num employees is equal to 0, semicolon, private disaster, square brackets, disasters is equal to new disaster, 1,000, semicolon, enter, private int num disasters is equal to 0, semicolon. Sweet, done. Next question. Write code to get positive to receive a number and return the position in the array where the employee ID matches it. If not, it returns -1. So, if I now want to do this, now, I'll literally go and I'll say this is specifically for the employee that I want. So, I go public int get pos open brackets int employee ID. I need to loop through my array of employees, so I'll go for num employees. If open brackets employees position I dot get employee ID. Guys, I didn't create a getter or a setter, so this is a problem in the question paper because it didn't ask you to make that private. But I would expect you guys to realize, oh, it's because that is in my employee ID is private, and I didn't get asked to create a setter or a getter. So I'd expect you guys then to realize, okay, I need to create a getter for my employee ID. Technically, there might be a function called equals in there or something that you could also done. So dot get employee ID is equal to employee ID. And if it is equal to each other, we return I, semicolon. If it is not equal to each other, which means it's gone through the whole loop and it's not there, I would return -1. So I loop through it. If it does find it, it will return the position. If it doesn't find it, it will return -1. You don't because you wouldn't want an else here, because if it's not the first employee, it still might be the second employee or third employee. So only once it's completed the loop and gone through all of it, do you know that it's not in there. And then you return -1.
Yeah, but it's intuitive because in your mind you say, okay, if it doesn't do that, it should do that. But then it runs the first time and then it starts up what you're doing.
Yeah. Now, it says now create a constructor method or context of a file. The employee file name should be string as a parameter. Do the following. Blah, blah, blah. So now we want to create our constructor. So we create our constructor. We want a string file name. And inside this, we are now going to go file f. Oops, file. That's not a. Damn it, you miserable git. File. No, control space bar. File, yes. File f is equal to new file. Path name, sweet. Scanner That's not what I want.
In the image,
Java.util-scanner SCF is equal to new. Alright, now so now with that interruption, I've now got more less time. No, yeah, now F semicolon.
You feel exactly
Now,
like we feel during the test.
exactly. He said you guys had 3 hours. Yeah. Now, surround block with try catch. Sweet, you guys. You will not get marks if you don't put a proper error message in here. Error, full colons, space plus e. Well, at least an error message. You can't just leave it with the logger thing. Alright, now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to loop through this. So we go while scf dot has next, and then we're going to go and we're going to say string. What are we actually looping through here?
We don't know, sir.
Okay, let's look at the. Oh, I'm running out of time. Yeah.
You're out of time. There's no ways you can do this in 1 minute.
Okay, so if I look at this, I've got there E1, so it's an employee because it's got an E. If it's got a P, it is a. So the first character determines whether it's an employee or not. So what we've got to do is string record is equal to scf dot next line, which will get the whole. No, such a waste of time. Now, what I'm going to do here is we know that the first character is going to determine whether it's or not it is a record. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say string ID is equal to record dot hello scanner sc record. So I'm scanning record is equal to new scanner of the file record, the string one, record semicolon, and we're going to use the delimiter. What's the delimiter? Delimiter here. It is a hashtag. All right. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to say string ID is equal to scr dot next. Now you'll notice this will get not just the ID, it will also get the actual if it's an employee or not. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say chare is equal to what am I doing?
Employee.
Okay, if it's an employee or not. So now I'm going to say id dot character at 0, which will get me the first character, and then I'll say if open brackets e is equal to the character e. Is it a capital or small letter?
Capital.
Okay, cool. So if it is equal to e, then I know it's an employee, and then I'll go through adding an employee. If it is not, else, then we know it's a disaster, so then it'll be a disaster, and we go through adding a disaster. I'm going to continue recording this. Ironically, currently this was 42 minutes. Alright, just to go through, I've now, the IT class has gone, unfortunately. So I didn't manage to finish it in their lesson, but it's still, I'll do it under an hour. It says here the first character is a D, it's a disaster. Now, if you look at the actual blobs, I can't really zoom in on that, but you'll notice that it's actually a P there, and there's a capital P and there's a small P. So according to the scenario, it was picked up there. Now, this was a mistake in the setting of the exam. So now, realize that there can't be an errata in a matric final, and something like this might happen. So you need to look at this and go, oh, okay, P, and you have to deal with it. I mean, we would mark accordingly, so if you did just use a D, it would work fine. But if you look at my solution here, my solution will work, because if it's an E, it's this, capital E. And if you look at the actual, the Bob thing, you'll notice there that the E's are all capital, so it would work for this. So if it's not an E, it's a disaster. So mine will actually work. But now the rest of it, we do know is the actual ID of it. So in both cases, it is the ID. So what we could actually do is I want to call this SID for string ID, and I am then going to create an integer on the next line, and I'm going to call it ID. And on that, I'm going to do an integer.parseInt, and I'm then going to say SID.substring 1. So I'll just get the rest of it, and that will then give me the ID, because both of them, the next value is an ID. Now, let's take a look at the separation. You'll see the question paper, it says there that split the employee into employee ID, first name, and disaster into disaster ID, employee ID, blah, blah, blah. So this is what it's going to be separated into. So let's work with the employee first. So it's employee ID, which you've already got. Then it's first name, surname, annual salary. So 2 strings and an int. So string first name equals SCR dot next. And then it's string surname is equal to SCR dot next, and then we know it's going to be a int annual salary SCR dot next int. Right, and then we would want to add our employee. I'm just going to for now go there add employee. I'm going to code that as a separate method because I do like to separate those out. It just makes life a bit easier. And then for the disaster, it's an employee ID that goes disaster ID, employee ID, description, and cost. So we know that would be, and we've already got the disaster ID. It would be employee ID, which is int, a description, and a cost. Now, with the employee ID, we know that this is going to be the actual employee, and it does say here that you would get the employee from there. If it doesn't exist, you can assume that it does exist in the text file prior to causing the disaster. So we can assume that. I did add that there, so you don't have to add any special thing to directly handle that, but it is worthwhile looking into if it's -1, that it's not actually in there, and we wouldn't want to add this disaster, because then this disaster has no record because we don't know what to do. So I'm going to include that a bit. But okay, so we're going to get, the first thing we need is we need a int employee, and that will be SCR dot next int. It was then a description, string DSC, and that was SCR dot next int, next full string, sorry. And then it's int cost of damages, so that'll be SCR dot next int. Okay, so we're happy, we've got both of those working. Description cost. And now we need to get pos disaster, blah, blah, blah. We need to now add the disaster to make the temporary employee. So now what we're going to do is we're going to say if, open brackets, int pos is equal to get pos emp, semicolon, if pos does not equal to -1, then we know it does exist. My employee ID get pos emp, capital EMP. Why did I call this the capital? My bad. Alright, so now on this side we're now going to, if it is, we're going to create a new add disaster, or whatever it's called. So now we've got this, we need to add these to our arrays. I'm just going to create the 2 add methods here quickly, doesn't take long. We're going to go public void add employee. What I usually do when I create the ads, I just go to the actual constructor, just so that I make sure I get it in the same order. Copy, paste, and then we'll go through and we'll go employees, position num employees is equal to new employee. Oops, fully parameterized constructor, done, num employees plus plus semicolon, and I'll do the same for my disasters now. So public void add disaster, open brackets, close brackets, I'll back to enter, go to my disaster, go get the fully parameterized constructor there, copy, paste, disasters, position num disasters is equal to new disaster. Just give me a second. Alright, sorry about that. But now, so we're going to go new disaster, and we'll send it through. Happy birthday. We'll go num disasters plus plus, and then over here we can quite easily just now add the employee when we want to add the employee. So add employee, we'll send through the values we want, which is correct. And we're going to do the same thing here for add disaster. The only slight difference is now add disaster, we're wanting to get an employee through here for the cause. So here we would go employees array position pos, and that would then send that through and add the disaster. So if the employee doesn't exist, the disaster will not be added because it can't have happened if there was no employee that's associated with it in this case, in this scenario anyway. And hence it was stated there that you didn't have to directly handle that the employee exists. You can assume it does. Now, write code called get employees, which will return a string representing all employees. Each employee should be separated by a new line. So it should be called get employees public string get employees, and it should return all employees separated by a new line. So we're just going to literally return a blank because this will get you some marks anyway, even if you don't get it right. And we'll loop through employees, so we'll loop through till num employees. We'll then go s all plus equals employees position I dot toString plus a \n. So there'll be a blank line in between. I don't remember if it said blank line in between or just a new line. So I think it's all employees on a new line. I think there's a blank line separated by a blank line. So that's fine. Now the next question states create array called sort, which will sort in descending order according to annual salary. So we want the highest salary at first and the lowest at the end. So public void sort, and we're going to sort according to the annual salary. So if we go here and we say the trick of sorting for tab starts at position num employees, start at 0, Control Z, start at 0, end at num employees -1. You don't need to check the last one. Once you've gotten to the end, you are at the end. And this will be equal to I plus 1, so check the one after it, and this will end at num employees. We will then go and we will check if we need to swap them, and we will swap them if the employees dot position I, let me just do J, I prefer doing it this way around, dot, you can look at whichever makes sense to you, but get the annual salary. So if the position I annual salary is higher than position J annual salary, it's in the wrong order, we need to swap them around. So then we would go, and this is a bubble sort. There are other methods of sorting, but this is the more common one, and it does use these few iterations. Right, now we're going to go here, and so if we are wanting to swap, we create a temporary employee. So we go employee T is equal to employees position I. I've got a meeting in 5 minutes, so hopefully I can get it done by then. Semicolon employees position I is equal to employees position J, employees position J is equal to employees position, is equal to T. Alright, now on from there we've done the sort. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to do get completely pear-shaped, write a code that will return the disaster object with the highest cost of damages. This is a find max. This is a known problem really. So public, and the thing is, it says here it will return a disaster, so it'll actually return a disaster object. Okay, and when you do this, the easiest way to do it is you start off by creating a disaster that you will return. I'm just going to make it null. Actually, we're going to assume that the first disaster, I'm going to make it null, because what if there's no disasters in it? And then you'll return D, semicolon. I'm going to create there and say int max total cost of damages, and then I'm going to set max to equal to 0. So now I'll loop through, and I'll go forward tab, I'll loop through my disasters, so we loop through disasters, and then we would say if open brackets disasters position I dot get cost is greater than max, then our new disaster, our D, is equal to disasters position I. So it will then replace D with that disaster, and then it will return that at the end. You can come in. Yeah, sorry about that. Where were we? Oh, 2 minutes left. This is fun. Right. So the sort is done, I think. Sweet. Get completely pear-shaped is done as well now. And okay, now it says here blob, and then there's a challenge question. Okay, looks like I'm not going to get this done before I need to get to the meeting. So I'm actually going to go to the meeting. I'm now on 55 minutes. So I've got 5 minutes to make my hour target of completing this. I'll be back later. Bye. Okay, so we got the completely pear-shaped. We're now creating the user interface. Accidentally closed the actual question paper. This is it here. Okay, so now we got the challenge to do so the blob UE. So write code called blob UE, which will allow simple output. Declare instantiate the blob object and run the methods. Write code that will display the following call methods. So sort employees, display all employees. I'm also going to test a couple of the methods I coded earlier that would just check if my code was right or not. I hope it is, but I have no guarantees. So we're just going to right click new JFrame. I'm just going to do a JFrame for my GUI, and it's called GUI blob or whatever it's called, I don't even remember. And we're just then going to create I like to just create a panel. Actually, let me just delete that for a second. Set the layout to border layout. For me, this is just the quickest panel on the, hello. Let me do that. Panel on the north. Text area. Going mad. Text area on the base. I can put a couple of buttons here to get it to do different things, so I can test different methods to using those different buttons. And we'll see what those to be. Alright, then the next one I'm going to now actually create an instance of my manager class. So we're going to create a private blob manager bman semicolon. Oops. We're then going to initialize my bman to equal new blob manager, and we'll send through the file name, which is blobs.txt semicolon. We then want it so when we press this, I want to display all using this. So then, good idea to name your txt display. Okay, so when we click that, we would want to go txt display dot set text to be bman dot get employees. Okay, the next step we're going to do is we're going to do just run it and test it, I suppose. It also wanted me to run the sort first in it, so let's just answer it basic here because I've only got 3 more minutes. So I'm not going to test these things, we'll just have to assume it works. I will make a follow-up or speak about it if it's in the comment section if I did do it incorrectly. But I'm going to declare, I'm going to run the sort and then display all employees, so we'll just go bman dot sort. Okay, so that should work. Let's just test if this works. 2 minutes left. Display all employees. Okay, sweet, done. And it's an order from most paid to least paid. Cool. Next, we're going to do is we're going to now do the challenge question. The challenge question says override the toString to return the details of all employees, each employee followed by the disasters that employee has caused. Marks are allocated to the elegance of the solution. Okay, this solution requires object-oriented programming principles to be able to solve, because now instead of our arrays being separate, you could potentially group them by an employee. So let's think on this for a couple of seconds and then let's get involved. So basically all I want is I want each employee and a list of their disasters on afterwards. So I'm actually going to just create a area here. We've got a choice because each disaster has an employee associated with it. So the cause of the employee is here. Now I want to group all these disasters according to the employee. So one, we could actually just order by an employee and then display according to that, or we could add to here. So there's a couple of different solutions. I'm just going to I could create an additional string here saying disasters, and that will just display a string containing all their disasters, or I could affiliate different disasters with them. Decisions. Oh yeah. I think the easiest way to do this is I'm going to create a method, public string get disasters int employee ID. Or actually, I can even just go employee e. And what I can do is I can then loop through all the disasters and only make a string that would return disasters from that employee. So string, that's not how you spell string, string s is equal to blank and return s, semicolon, and then I could just go forward tab, loop through my disasters, and I could say if open brackets disasters position I dot get employee, if that is there, get cause is equal to e. Now, did we create a dot equals method? No object to that, so it would have to be the same object, and technically that should work because they should be the same object because it's both pointing to the same location, and they should be in the same memory location, everything. So that actually should be fine. We'll test if that does work though. I'm over an hour now, damn it. Alright, so if the cause is the same, then we just go s plus equals disasters position I dot toString. Okay. Alright then. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're then going to go public toString, and on this toString we'll add that override notation. Oops. And we'll then go string s is equal to blank, return s, semicolon. We'll then loop through our employees, which will be up until num employees. We'll go s plus equals employees position I plus backslash n plus get disasters employees position I plus backslash n semicolon. So then that would return the employees through there with the disasters of each of the employees, and then return that. So I've created one that will get disasters from a specific employee, and here I just loop through my employees and I work through that. So now this should be a toString on there, so now I'm going to go back to my user interface, GUI blob, and I'm going to design this one. So this one will be the toString. So then we can test this method out, and we'll just go txt display.setText to be bman dot toString, and that should then display the, let's just make this a bit bigger. So I click this now, Billy Bob, okay, Billy, Barry, Bernie, Bill, caused those two disasters, which you can see my disasters don't look that good. Strange that it's only Barney Bill that had a disaster that occurred. I'd assume that these other ones did as well. So let's take a look at that. Let's problem solve. So if I go back to my text file, let's see what disasters they should have been occurring. So if I open up the text file, which I'm doing on another screen, sorry, you'll see that there should be Billy Bob, Barney Bill, chemical spill caused by 1, so Billy Bob caused the chemical spill, Billy Bob caused this, the rest were caused by 12, which doesn't exist. So that's correct. Billy Bob is the only one who actually did cause disasters. The rest of these disasters have incorrect data. So my coding is right, it's just that the preload was not great. So if I run this here again, just double check, so Billy Bob should have 2. Barney Bill, not Billy Bob. Barney Bill is ID number 1. Billy Bob is ID number 0. Okay, so my reading is not going right because the ID of my, if you look at that, the ID of Billy Bob, according to me, is 0, but Billy Bob is 1, and Barney Bill is 85. Whereas my, you'll see the values that I gave them. Barney is 1, 2, 3. So these are just have the wrong order of them. Interesting. Okay, so obviously it looks like here I'm just assigning R to the value, not the actual ID number to it. So if I go back to my Bob Manager and I go back to my code where I'm adding them to the text file, I think it's got to do with where I set the ID. So when I add the employee, you see I'm adding number of employees. I'm not adding here, there should be ID that is being sent through. As well as over here, there should be also ID that is being sent through. So the reason why it wasn't working is because I was sending through an incorrect value. So if I press play now and I click the toString, that's better. So Billy Bob has caused 2 accidents, and Homer Simpson with ID 12 has caused 1, 2, 3, 4 accidents. Okay, cool. So it was just the fact that I wasn't sending the ID through as the ID. I was sending through the actual number of employees, which is kind of stupid. But yeah, alright, so problem solved on that. I'm going to stop this video now. I need to get on with some other work, and hope this helps. Enjoy your day.